Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we have just some odds and ends of Kanye news. Kanye in Georgia is what we're starting off with. So it looks like he visited the Forest School in Fayetteville, Georgia, and students were given the Yeezy Shoe Design Challenge, and Kanye gave each student feedback and approval of their design, which is kind of cool. And you can see here photos of Kanye or photos of Kimye has some of the photos that were posted by the Forest School, and I think just also on social media. So you can see Kanye here rocking that Wolves New York Rangers jersey. He loves that thing. We've been seeing him in it a lot, and just some of the happy middle schoolers. And then here, the shoe that says Kanye on it, Kanye approval, which is pretty funny. That same signature that he's had for a long time. Nice job, Ezra. And then here, just some of the kids working on it. And then another one where it's just a kid working on it. What a keyboard, you know? But that's kind of cool. Like, Kanye probably has some downtime in Georgia, and the fact that he's spending it just going to schools and having kids draw shoes and spending time with them, like, that's very dad yay energy. Like, 100% dad yay energy. So we have that going on, but it doesn't seem like there's much else that we know, at least insofar of today, that's happening. It seems like there might be some Gap stuff that's going on. There was a photo of Gap clothes being laid out in that Pinewood studio that we had seen before. So that's happening, but there hasn't been any like big breaking information that's really new. There's this. So What's Up Ever had posted, and people were posting this on Donda News and our Kanye and just all over Twitter. A person closely working with Nico, who's Kanye's videographer the last couple of years, posted this, and it looks to be an animated cover for Donda. And you get that same green landscape, kind of the orange sky and sun, the clouds that were in the Donda album cover. Like, it's very Donda album cover, right? But then the question is, like, what is it? There was speculation by people on the subreddit that it was for a Spotify animated cover. I don't use Spotify anymore, so this is kind of a new thing to me, but it's in the duration length and in the aspect ratio. But there was also just, this is what a video on Instagram looks like. Is this going to be part of the Donda movies, something else? So right now we just have kind of speculation for it. I mean, this might just even be something that somebody mocked up for Kanye to show him just out of a, hey, Kanye, look at what I can do. Hire me for something else, right? It could be something that's sort of like going to come out or part of a project, but I mean, it could just be inspired by the Donda album cover and showing off the work that this person can do. So still skeptical a little bit, and then we have this, which, a new Nas album came out. It's called King's Disease, and a lot of people are really happy with it. It features a lot of Hit Boy production, and just people saying that this is one of the best albums of 2020. Nas is back on it, and it's getting a lot of comparisons to NASIR. And even Nas is kind of talking about the differences between the albums. So he said here, I don't know what went wrong. I did want to work more with Kanye, Nas says around the interview's 6-minute mark. So even Nas is saying, like, something went wrong with that album. I know following the hype of Daytona, Ye, and Kids See Ghosts, that people expected NASIR to be this huge thing. And even when the listening party first started and you hear those first beats and it's so epic, you're like, oh, this is it. But by the time you're through the album, it never quite, at least to me, felt like it went to where it needed to go. Like, it was lacking in some ways compared to the other albums, not just in the production, but in the performance and some of the lyrics. It just never like came together. And I think that was the biggest complaint about it. And I think over the years, people have said it's not as bad as initial reactions were, just due to the expectation. But there's still people that are like, man, this isn't what any of us think it could have been or should have been. And even Nas kind of echoes that sentiment. And you get some idea of what was going on behind the scenes, right? He says, we spent time and I was working on ideas. He would give me a few loops and I would write to them, but they weren't finished, which can be hard, right? Like, you can know what the basic sound is, but if you don't know there's going to be this big sample coming in or these drums are going to do this, it can just affect the way that you're writing. he was working on a lot. He had Kid Cudi, he had Teyana Taylor, he had his album, and I was the only one coming in starting fresh. So I had less time with him. We really did that album the week it was supposed to come out, which has been one of the major complaints about Kanye over the last few years, right? Is people feel like his projects have been more rushed than the time spent on, say, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is kind of funny in some ways because a lot of Kanye albums are still being worked on all the way up to the last minute. And there's still ideas that are holdovers from previous thoughts, right? Because Ye, that was one of the big complaints. Like, oh, he wrote all these songs in like the 2 weeks between his scrapping Love Everyone and releasing Ye, or in the month between. Like, no wonder why it's so weak. But some of that stuff was already being worked on or taken from other previous tracks. Like the production on Violent Crimes was coming from the song Brothers that Kanye had first gotten a meeting with or introduction with in like 2017. So there's just something where like, yeah, there have been time to marinate on some of these ideas and concepts, and even if the final project was kind of rushed, there's still aspects of it that have been worked on previously. Kids See Ghosts, it seemed, had been being worked on for a year and a half. Sci-Hi said that Pusha T had 2 years to work on Daytona, right? And Pusha T had more than just those 7 songs, but they condensed it down to 7. And I think even Teyana had been working on her project for a while. So the fact that Nas was coming in completely fresh is kind of wild, kind of wild, right? And people would point to that as like, yeah, this wouldn't, if Kanye did set up these deadlines for things or set them up, but also took the time ahead of time to be working on this. Because he announced those albums, what was it, like April, March, something like that. But there was time that he could have been working with Nas that full time, not just like the week it was supposed to come out. With that said, having listened to King's Disease and NASIR, I don't know, like, I still gravitate to NASIR a little bit more. I don't see that huge of a difference lyrically or like performance between Nas on each of those albums, which maybe I just need to listen to them like one after the other to notice the difference. I definitely think King's Disease has more to it, right? Like the verses are longer, the songs are longer. It's a more robust project. But I don't know if it's all that different, like verse-wise, than what Nas was saying on NASIR. And then the production on NASIR, even if it is rushed, I still think is a little more to my tastes and liking, just due to the dynamic range of it having more crescendos and highs and lows in a given track than on King's Disease, which kind of feels a bit more spare to me. Like it's creating space for Nas and not wanting to intrude on what it is he's doing. So the beat's there to kind of give Nas something to rap to and kind of give us a little like head nod to, but the production isn't necessarily a big character on the album the way it is on NASIR. So I think, prefer NASIR, which I'm sure some would point to and be like, Kanye, you're just picking Kanye over anyone else, but it's just the style of music I prefer. But he said, I like Cop Shot the Kid. I like Adam and Eve. It's a short album. We just didn't get enough time. I wish we would have worked on it more. Which, yeah, I get that. And then he also talked about it in a Apple Music interview. The man is cranking out all of these albums, and they're going to come out every Friday. And so he had to mix albums, finish albums. So I kind of had to wait till that last week before the album dropped to really have him in the room, to really have him to be there to get these records done. And so I've never been to Wyoming, you know what I'm saying? I thank him for bringing me out there and to see a different part of America and to be around that energy with all the producers and artists. But I also had my room to the side, so if I wanted to work with them longer, because we only got, honestly, we hung around, we went over ideas, but it really, really got down to the wire, no pun. Like at least at the last week, in the last week, he said to Zane Lowe. Yeah, so I can just imagine you're Nas and you're sitting there like, I'm Nas. Are we not going to work on this? Am I getting no time? Like, I'm Nas. Jeez. And then this is the last thing that we have. Kanye West sued. Company claims it got played. You stole our tech for Sunday service. And this isn't a new thing. Kanye's been sued by a handful of companies the last few years. One, I think the most recent was a Japanese textile company that Kanye had apparently ordered a lot of material from and then backed out of it after they had already started making it and like cut the yarn or whatever it is, the textile that they needed, and they were pretty pissed. But this is saying that companies stole their tech for Sunday service, and I'm a little confused by this. So, as TMZ writes, that it's a black-owned business specializing in video and e-commerce technology. The company claims it linked up with Kanye in the spring of 2018 to help Ye maximize revenues for his Yeezy merchandise. NYC, repped by attorneys, alleges Kanye got the company to work around the clock for him for 6 months based on a series of business promises, including a future $10 million investment, and estimates it put in 10,000 man-hours and invested $7 million of its own into the Yeezy project. That's an incredible amount of time and resources. According to the suit, NYC even moved its headquarters once to Calabasas and once to Chicago, all to please Kanye and make the partnership work. However, after the 6 months, NYC claims it became clear Kanye had no intention of following through on his promises and he cut ties, but not before allegedly jacking its technology for his newly launched Sunday service, which is kind of wild. Like, I'm trying to work through this. So they only are working with him for 10 months, but managed to put in 10,000 man hours and $7 million into the Yeezy project and relocate the company 2 times. It just feels like you're just not being safe to begin with if within 6 months and this guy not even giving you any of the initial investment money that he had promised, you're putting in all this time and effort. I guess shoot your shots, but at the same time, be a little safer. But it also says that they started working with Kanye in the spring of 2018 to help him maximize revenue, and that after 6 months they cut ties and jacked the technology for newly launched Sunday service. Sunday service was still private for most of January and February of 2019. Right? We were just getting the shows or the photos that we get from Kim and the family and some of the random people that were going. Even into March, it was still not all that public. It wasn't until April where Kanye took Sunday service to Coachella that I think we were really getting the first live stream of Coachella. At that point, you're looking at a year. So I'm just I'm confused at what point they were jacking the technology for Sunday service. Was it for the live stream of Sunday service, maybe? And Kanye had worked with them on the live streams. Because the company, I looked it up, My Channel operates in the telecommunication industry that revolutionizes how enterprise engage with their target audiences. Their vision is to help change the innovation culture, and it empowers individuals to change the world. It brings social video to the workplace to enhance employee engagement. So that was kind of what it was saying in 2015. And here's an article from January 9th, 2018. And it's just saying My Channel has revolutionized live streaming and audience engagement. So I guess Kanye had the live streams for the Wyoming projects. But what this company says it does, and is kind of terrifying, is that it says as somebody's streaming the video, it's tracking what they're texting and saying in order to give real-time feedback to the people streaming so they know how to adjust the content that's on screen, which that's the only real part in this 3-minute video talking fully about My Channel that gives any hint at what My Channel does. And it makes it seem like essentially My Channel just accesses your microphone and your keyboard and spies on you. That's the only thing I could take away from this, and I couldn't find any other articles that were really talking about it, which was just is Kanye doing that? But it also, was he doing it for the live streams? People weren't accepting that as a condition to use the live stream. And then with the Sunday service, yes, he live streamed some of those, but it also wasn't a thing where you had to accept these conditions as far as I'm aware. So I'm just a little confused about what this technology is and when it has been used and executed and what exactly Kanye stole. They're seeking $20 million in damages, which I guess is chump change overall to Kanye, but I'm pretty curious to see where this lawsuit goes and what actually happened and was revealed. So not that much news today, but that's what we got on the table. And it's Tuesday, so we're 2 days away from really seeing if Thursday or Friday there's something about Donda coming out. Fingers crossed. But I guess we'll be back tomorrow for another video. Until then, I'm going to give you the closing spiel. You ready? If you're liking the channel and want to support us, the easiest thing to do is like, subscribe, or comment, as any of those three things, or all three, tell YouTube that this is a channel people enjoy, so then they show it to more people. And then the next level, we have a podcast called Watching the Throne, and we actually have a Patreon for the podcast where we have all of our archived episodes during our line-by-line song analysis of Kanye's entire discography from The College Dropout up through Jesus is King. So the Jesus is King episodes are still available for free wherever you listen to podcasts, but everything else is only available on our Patreon. We're actually getting ready to go back through and redo some of the older seasons just because we didn't have these nice mics. We were still figuring out the show. So we're starting with new episodes of Late Registration as early as next week. So if you want to hear us do our line-by-line analysis of Late Registration, you can wait a number of months for it to come out onto the free public channel of Watching the Throne on Apple and Spotify and the like, or you can join us for $5 a month on Patreon, get those episodes 2 a week, as well as all of the older content as well for College Dropouts, Life of Pablo, Yay, Kids See Ghost, etc., etc. So yeah, that's very helpful as well. And then lastly, I write novels. My second book came out just a few months ago called Killer Unconquered, pretentious literary fiction. But if you enjoy books and want to help me out, then the link is down in the description, as my literary career is the main thing, right? But until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.